The people of Exuma in particular will sorely miss him because he was the quintessential Family Island MP. If you were looking for somebody who personified the best virtues of a Family Island MP, you'd find in George Smith. He was unfailingly attentive. You know, in an age now where the complaint is that I can't get to see my MP, George was the exact antithesis of that. He was somebody who was always accessible to his constituents. And even those who weren't his constituents, he was just a politician who was very approachable and accessible. I met George in 1970, so it's well more than 50 years ago, 53 years ago. And we became very good friends, even though there was a bit of an age gap between us, because he very quickly adopted me as something of a disciple or a protege. And it continued to grow. In fact, when I got married 49 years ago, George was my best man. That's how close we were. George was an outstanding patriot, a great nationalist. He really believed passionately in the Bahamas. And throughout his life, up to the very end, he was engaged in exploring ways by which national issues could be tackled more efficiently and resolved. And he was particularly enthusiastic about the 50th anniversary of independence because, as you know, he was one of the founding fathers. He was present at the creation, so to speak, at the Independence Conference in 1972, which gave birth to the Constitution of the Bahamas. George will be remembered as an outstanding patriot who distinguished himself in so many different ways. He was an outstanding minister, an outstanding MP, as I've said. He was the chairman of the secretariat that organized the original independence celebrations and the public education relating to independence. And we tend to overlook that. But we had a lot of convincing to do. 50 years ago, there were a lot of people who weren't sure this was a great idea. And George was the man responsible for staging these events, these public education events, and the celebratory events that were involved as well, so that people really got a true understanding of what independence meant for the Bahamas, would mean for the Bahamas, what the challenges and responsibilities would be. He really set the standard. He really was the template of what it meant to be a first-class member of Parliament in terms of having a sense of what it meant to be an MP, what it meant and entailed in the way of service to one's constituents. You could not find a finer MP at any stage of our history than George Smith. He was the absolute best. With George, it was never a dull moment. He would say the most outrageous things. And you spend half your time rebuking him for it, but it was all in good humor. He had a great sense of humor. He was in love with life. He loved politics, and a lot of people have made mention of that since his passing, but above that, he loved life. He was engaged with life and its challenges and its responsibilities.